Welcome to Art with Mrs. Smith.
Hello and welcome back to Art with Mrs. Smith. Today we are doing an artwork inspired by the fabulous Juju Roche. Juju does interpretive landscapes and I absolutely love what she does. This is a little piece that I have just completed and this is what I'm going to teach you to do today. How good is it? Let's learn a little bit more about Juju first.
Julia, or Juju, is an interpretive landscape artist, meaning she paints her interpretation of what she sees rather than a realistic scene. Juju begins by standing on a hill or in the paddock, or by just thinking about a visual or physical experience, and then works on the canvas over a period of up to 8 weeks, making marks, spilling, soaking, staining, and reworking. Her aim is to eliminate the brush gesture, resulting in colours flowing into each other, which evokes a response of the real and the imagined. Juju doesn't get hooked up on making her picture look like a real landscape or a realistic scene, but focuses on creating a painting that draws the viewer into an imaginative world of floating trees, colour and shapes. If Juju doesn't like something she's painted or a colour in her picture, she waits until it's dried and then she paints over it. Her paintings are always evolving until she's happy with the overall piece. Okay, for this art project, you will need a nice thick piece of watercolour paper or a canvas or just the thickest paper you can find. Normal paper just does not work for this project. It gets too soggy. Then you will need something to draw some marks with. You can use pencil or texta, or I found these little charcoal bits in my backyard fire pit, and I know Juju uses a lot of charcoal in her artwork, so I'm going to experiment with those. Now, think about your interpretive landscape. It needs to have lots of interest, it needs to be unique, and it needs to be creative. So we're not going to just draw a straight line across the page. We're going to add some interest. I'll start in the middle of the page and start drawing my marks. It's a mountain scene that I'm doing. So lots and lots of marks on the page. Just trying to remember what it might look like. Okay, quite happy with that. Now, if I think about a mountain scene, there's generally trees on a mountain, so I'm going to draw some tree trunks just by marking little dashes over the page. I'll add more detail to these trees when we add paint. Okay, I'm quite happy with that. I'll do some paint spilling on this a little bit later, but that's it for now.
Okay, well here we have Hudson, Eva and Zoe, and they're about to do their markings for their interpretive landscapes. We've got a pile of charcoal there which we just ran off our fire in the backyard, fire pit, and some of you are going to use pencil. I think Eva and Zoe might start with a pencil, and that's totally fine too. You can use texta, pencil, charcoal, whatever you have to draw your marks. Now, Hudson had a bit of a think about the landscape that he wants to do and did a practice on a piece of paper, and now he's about to start it on his canvas. Eva and Zoe maybe started, but that's okay. And let's go. Go for it, Huddo. We want these landscapes to look really interesting. The foreground, which is at the front of the landscape, needs to have lots of interest in it. This is basically the ground. I like how you're building it up so that it's going up to about halfway on your canvas or your paper.
You done? Okay.
Lots of marks. You can start thinking about trees that you might have in your landscape or flowers. you're doing a beach, maybe you have some people walking on the beach. Don't draw them too detailed, we're just doing basic marks. I think the kids have just finished their markings. Do you want to hold up and show us, please?
Sure.
All right. Hold up, Zoe.
Do we help you?
Ah, very good. Okie doke. I think we're ready to go outside and pour some paint. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm so ready.
Okay, let's do it. All right, here we are outside because this is where things get messy. We have our markings on our page, and now what we need to do is add some paint. And the way we're going to do that is by using watered down acrylics. And if you can see the consistency of that, it's not too runny. And that's the secret to making this successful. If it's too runny, it will end up a wet mess, and we don't want that. So I've got all different colours here, 2 different shades of green, and I've got 2 different shades of blue, and I've got orange and white to do some details, and some black as well. So watered down acrylics. But I'm going to start with not watered down white, because I'm in the sky, I want some white detail. So I'm just going to start by putting a bit of white on the page. Using a brush, I'm just going to spread that around. Remember, we don't want anything to be perfect. It's about making mistakes, because mistakes tend to be rather beautiful. So a bit of white all around. Doesn't have to be neat. Okay, might just add a little bit more because I really do want this to be quite thick. Thinking about the way my brush strokes are going though, and as you can see the strokes, hopefully when we do our paint pour, those painting strokes will disappear, because we want the colours to be quite fluid. We want them to run into each other. All right, now I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to start with the sky pour while that's still wet. I might start with this light blue. So it's simply pour it on wherever. There we go. And now I'm going to use my hand to rub that in. You don't have to use your hand. You can, if it's runny enough, you can pick up your paper to make it spread. Okay. Now I'm going to get a bit of a darker blue. I'm a bit nervous about this one. It looks a little bit too runny for my liking, but we'll see how we go. Just maybe a little bit at a time. Picking up the paper, letting it run through. Use your fingers as well. Blend, blend, blend. I'll go a little bit more of that dark blue. Open this corner. Okay. Run through. Alright, looking pretty good. Alright, now I'm going to add, this might seem a little strange, but I'm going to add a little bit of black to the sky. If we look at Juju's artworks, she does have those beautiful, dark, moody sort of colours in her skies. So let's see if we can recreate that. So I just sort of want it around the edges. I've got a blob there, but that's okay. I'm not going to worry. Let's see if we can create a bit of moodiness in our sky with this black. Run a bit. Look at this, beautiful running onto each other. Can you see how beautiful that is? Just let it run. I think the important thing here is to make sure you do cover up all the white bits. That's one thing that I will say is important. Okay, I'm going to bring back this blue because I want to get rid of those finger lines if I can. Okay, run. Okay, pretty happy with that. Still seeing a bit of that white in the middle. A nice blend of those moody colours. Alright, I might leave it like that. I'm happy. Okay, let's move on to the foreground, our ground down here. And I'm going to be using these two shades of green, starting with the light one. It's always a good idea to go from light to dark. So I'll just do a bit of the pour, nothing too... there. Let's see what happens when we move it around. Okay, blending nicely. Okay, let's use a bit of here. If you go outside of the lines, like Juju says, it does not matter. You don't need to worry about staying in the lines with this. Let the colours flow. You can do a bit of blending. Alright, I'm just going to pour a little bit more down the bottom there. I might do the dark green, I think. Okay, let it run. Okay. Alright, that's looking pretty good. No white bits left. Alright. Now I'm going to try and recreate some, I'll bring back those tree markings that you remember I did the trunks. So using, this is watered down white. Let's just do some markings by going dot, dot, dot. There's some trees over here. I'll try and bring them back a little bit. Nothing too perfect. It's just about making marks. Okay. Just to give it a little bit more interest, I might add a different colour. So I'm going to try and add maybe a little bit of orange. Contrasting colour there. What will I do? Doesn't matter too much, don't overthink it. Just draw some marks like we practiced. Eva's actually already made a bit of a start. She's using, hold it up Eva.
I'm using just like sponge soda.
Okay.
And you can use anything you want to with it.
You can, there are no rules with what you use. So,
you can even use your face.
Well,
I probably won't.
I don't know about your face. Okay, Zoe, do you want to put some paint on yours? That one? This one. She wants to do a little bit of black, all right? So, how do you tell us about what you're doing there?
I'm putting this stuff in the middle.
Okay. Good to see you wearing paint shirts. This is messy. We need to protect those nice clothes. Oh, very good, Zoe. Round and round.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, looking good. So Evie, you've started with the
The land.
the land.
Zoe, that looks really good.
Hudson, you started with the
Sky.
sky. Okay, what do you think you might do next? Okay.
Whatever you want.
Okay, this is my landscape work in progress. It is all dry. There's not a single bit of wet paint on there now. And I'm going to add some more detail using these oil pastel crayons. I might use some charcoal. And I'm also going to add a touch of pink acrylic paint, which you can't see there at the end. So you can just sit back and watch all this unfold. Hudson and Eva are now adding their little details. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed the Juju Roche inspired interpretive landscape lesson. I know I certainly did. It was so fun to get the acrylic paints out, get a little messy and do something that we don't normally do. It was fantastic. Thank you so much to Juju for getting on board and giving us those little hints and tricks. We couldn't have done it without you, and I just appreciate it so much. I want to share with you the children's finished artworks. This one is Eva's. And originally when she did her sky, she did a little bit too much of the blending technique. And what happened was her sky ended up just one solid grey colour. And she decided that, you know what, I can do that a little bit better. So she waited for it to dry and then she tried again. She added the white and the blue and was just a little bit more careful with the blending, not to do it too much. So now that you can see elements of blue and white, and it's not just one colour. So that was really good. This is Hudson's, and he was so proud of his work, as am I. Lots of detail in there. And as you saw in the video, he came up with that little dabbing technique to get that sky effect. So there we go. And again, this one was mine, and pretty proud of it. I would love to see your artworks if you complete this Juju lesson. Share it to my Instagram or my Facebook. Text it to me, it doesn't matter. I'd love to see it. And yeah, I'll see you next time. See you everyone. Bye.